Welcome back, folks. Welcome back to Technical Knockout, the MMA podcast. I'm your host, as always, Hussein, and today we are going to be talking about UFC Mexico City. Brandon Moreno versus Steve Erceg. It should be a good one. I mean, we got a couple good fights on here at least. Last week looked like it was going to be a good one, and it turned out to be a not so good one. They thought it was going to be good. It turned out to be not so good. Oh, sorry. But yeah, no, it wasn't that good. I thought personally that, first off, main event, Sean Brady looked awesome. He's great. He's, developed as we'd hoped that he would. His boxing is serviceable enough to get to his very, very dominant grappling, and his cardio held up, and he got the finish in the fourth. It was awesome. Great performance from him. Co-main event, I thought Jan Blachowicz won. I'll say it. I thought, first and second round were very close. I thought Blachowicz won the third round with the flurry at the end. I thought Blachowicz won the first round. Second round I gave to Ulberg, and that's how I scored it. I had a 29-28 Jan, so it is what it is. We went 3-2 on the picks. It should have been 4-1, but Blachowicz didn't get the nod. Rest of the card was pretty decent, I guess. There was that crazy comeback from Sean O'Bannon. That was awesome. Crazy fight. There was Kevin Holland looked really good against Gunnar Nelson. Gunnar Nelson looked old. Molly McCann retired. Chris Duncan, huge upset. Nathaniel Wood looked great. That was beautiful. Couple of my favorite fighters on this card: Wood, Tybura, and Blachowicz. And unfortunately, Blachowicz won but didn't get the nod, in my opinion. And Wood and Tybura both won deservedly. And then we had that big upset in the beginning. Guram Kutateladze is cooked. Definitely fade. I faded him in that fight too. I thought that Fernandez looked pretty solid when I looked at the striking tape on him. So anyway, let's get into next week's event. We have Brandon Moreno versus Steve Erceg, and we're going to Mexico City, boys. So you got to be ready for a very tired UFC athlete list, whatever. The fighters are more likely to get tired because Mexico City is very high in elevation. And we've seen this in Utah. We've seen this in Denver. We've seen this in Mexico City. So I think that's definitely something you have to take into account if you're going to be betting on this card. I personally would not suggest betting on this card because there's not that many good spots here, in my opinion. But we're going to get into the nitty-gritty, as they say. So let's start off with that main event, Brandon Moreno versus Steve Erceg. This is a very interesting fight, and for me, it's a very scary fight as a Steve Erceg fan and a Brandon Moreno fan. I'm really not sure where either guy is going to go if they win this. I'm not sure where they're going to go if they lose it. I'm afraid for both of them. And it's just, it's tough. But the UFC's in Mexico City, so they got to put Brandon Moreno in there. And Steve Erceg's always down for a scrap. So, I'm excited for this fight. I think it's going to be a really fun striking match. I expect Moreno to be a little bit of, maybe not a harder hitter, but I think he's going to find some good spots here against Erceg. I think Erceg is going to sneak up on him, though, with the speed on the inside. I think the grappling, if anything, I hope they grapple because they're both very underrated grapplers, in my opinion. Moreno, of course, came up as a grappler. That's how we knew him in the beginning. But since has really made his name as a striker. And for Erceg, he, kind of same deal. He came up as a grappler, had a lot of submissions on his record going into the UFC. So, I'd love to see this fight hit the mat, but I don't expect it to. I think it's going to be more likely that we see a very close fight on the feet and one that Brandon Moreno will likely edge out. Yeah, I want Erceg to win for the division's sake. I want to see the Pantoja rematch really bad because that first fight was very close, and I felt like Erceg had a good argument for winning until that, mistake in the fifth round where he went for the takedown, bad move. But yeah, great fight. So I'm really excited to see how it shakes out. I can see Brandon Moreno really picking up as this fight gets into the late stages. Erceg doesn't have the 5-round experience that Moreno has. Moreno's won 5 rounds many times. He won 5 rounds with Royval, Albazi, Pantoja. He went 5 rounds with fucking Davison Figueiredo like 5-6 times or something, you know what I mean? So the guy has plenty of 5th round experience, and that may be the deciding factor in this fight. If Erceg can't really establish, it's just hard for me to picture Erceg really establishing his game here, and I really want him to because I love his style. But yeah, I think maybe if he goes to the wrestling, he might be able to find a lot of success there. But we'll see what happens. I'm excited for this fight either way. I have a feeling that it's going to be a fight that goes longer, though. I don't see either guy really getting a finish here. They're both very tough and hard to put away. So I think betting the distance is probably a very smart thing to do in this fight, especially considering that they're in Mexico City. So, the activity may wane as the fight goes on, and it may just come down to who has more top position or who threw a couple more strikes. So, yeah, I'm going to go with this fight to go the distance, but I am leaning towards the Brandon Moreno side. If you can get Brandon Moreno by decision at like plus 200 or 150 or more, I think it's definitely worth the stab. Next, we have Manuel Torres versus Drew Dober. This is an awesome action fight at lightweight between two unranked lightweights. From what I know, they're both unranked. Drew Dober, we've been seeing his age in these last few performances, but he's still solid as a rock, hits hard, big left hand, very hard to put away. And decent wrestler, not too bad. I mean, he can get taken advantage of by really good grapplers, but more often than not, he holds his own at least. Manuel Torres, sort of a wild man, but he had a crazy fight with somebody I saw where it was like torrid pace, and he ended up getting a submission after getting dropped, I believe. It was against Chris Duncan, yeah. But yeah, he lost to Ignacio Bahamondes in his last fight. He's a solid fighter and he's an action fighter, so I think this is going to be a really fun fight. I am tempted to just take the young man pick here and take Manuel Torres, but I do feel like Drew Dober has a lot more high-level experience than this guy, and he should be able to, if he shows up and he's not, like, compromised as far as his chin goes, I think he should be able to win this fight, and probably in the second or third round, if not at the, if not at the decision. So I'm very much thinking of taking a stab at Drew Dober to win and the fight to start to round 2. I think the longer the fight goes, it's going to be better for Dober, even though we've seen him kind of gas out in 3-round fights before if they're very grappling heavy. I do feel like he has the style to, outlast this guy, Manuel Torres, and maybe even find the chin at some point and knock him out. Maybe you can get a knockout in the second or third round prop. Drew Dober trains in Denver, so he should be used to the elevation. We do know that Drew Dober can handle the elevation, so that might be enough to just take that bet anyway. But yeah, either way, I think it's going to be a fun fight to watch. Next, you have Kelvin Gastelum versus Joe Pyfer, and now this is exactly the kind of fight where I'm talking about that you got to be careful because the elevation can change things. Joe Pyfer, we've seen gas out. We've seen him gas out against Jack Hermansson, a guy that's very hard to put away. Kelvin Gastelum, also notoriously a very hard guy to put away. So if Gastelum can withstand the first round, if he can survive the first round, and Joe Pyfer doesn't put his lights out in that first round, and Joe Pyfer gets tired, and we see Kelvin Gastelum, who's always been a cardio monster, who's fighting at elevation here, where Joe Pyfer may gas earlier. If we see Gastelum turn it up in the second and third round, we could very well see a Gastelum decision victory here. Or, in his dreams maybe a finish, but I think a decision is more likely his path to victory here. Now, Gastelum has always had a great chin. I don't know if it's been cracked. I can't remember him getting finished by strikes. No, he still hasn't been finished by strikes. So, if you think that this is the time that Kelvin Gastelum's chin is going to go and he's going to lose, he hasn't been losing by getting hurt. You know what I mean? He got submitted by Sean Brady. He got wrestled to death in that fight. He got beat by Jared Cannonier, who's just a way more athletic and younger guy, or not younger rather, but more, less tread on the tires. A way more athletic and better striker in my opinion. Much more varied strike. I don't think that's controversial to say that Jared Cannonier is a better striker than Kelvin Gastelum. He's reached higher points in the sport. Then he lost to Robert Whitaker, who's Robert Whitaker. He got submitted by Jack Hermansson, where that was like, he kind of got caught sleeping with that heel hook very early. Darren Till fight was a very close fight that he easily could have got that nod. I personally don't think Kelvin Gastelum's over the hill yet. I don't think he's done. I don't think he's exhausted. And I don't think he's going to get knocked out in the first round by Joe Pyfer. Now, I could be eating my words. And that being said, Joe Pyfer is also a very talented grappler. So if you do think that Pyfer's going to win, first round submission might be the better prop. Because, Kelvin Gastelum's been submitted in the first round before, like I just pointed out against Jack Hermansson. But more often than not, I think he can survive the onslaught from Joe Pyfer early in this fight. I think he can turn the fight around in the second and third. And I think if this fight gets into the second and third, Joe Pyfer's probably going to be huffing and puffing and, can't blow down the straw house or whatever. Maybe we call it the brick house because he's a big old Mexican with a big old head. But yeah, Kelvin Gastelum is very hard to put away. He's very tough. It's in Mexico City, so the cardio is going to be a huge factor. And I think this is a solid underdog spot for Kelvin Gastelum at plus 300. I ain't mad at it. So don't tell anybody I told you, but I think this might be a good bet. Yeah, so Kelvin Gastelum, I'm gonna take him, bro. Fuck it. I think he takes it over in the second and third. Next, you have Raul Rosas Jr. versus Vince Morales. Now, this is another one where you got to be careful because Raul Rosas Jr. has gotten tired before. Vince Morales, not a stellar fighter. He does have a victory over Hunter Azor, who I do rate pretty highly. He's been in the UFC twice now. So, I mean, he has a decent amount of experience, but he's lost to damn near every good fighter. I mean, I think this is a good spot for Rosas Jr. And again, you're going to want to see Rosas get this done early. Does Morales have any finishes or submission losses or anything like that? He's been submitted twice. All right. And pretty early in his career, so maybe that's something that he's gotten past. But if Rosas Jr. can take advantage of the grappling early and often in this fight, he should be able to get it done. Either way, I think it's a very fun fight. I think it's a good matchup for Rosas Jr. I don't know if I'd pay the ticket price that they have him at. I believe I saw him at minus 400 or something like that. I don't think that's a good idea. But either way, we'll see what happens. Next, you have David Martinez versus Simon Oliveira. Don't know these guys. I'm not going to pretend to know these guys. Next, you have Ronaldo Rodriguez versus Kevin Borges. Kevin Borges, pretty decent action fighter at flyweight. Ronaldo Rodriguez, he had that crazy fight with Odi Osbourne that probably could have went to Osbourne's way, but it was a couple decisions here and there that led to Rodriguez getting the win. Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a very fun fight. I think Borges, I forget how to pronounce it. I think he should be the better fighter here. Ronaldo Rodriguez didn't look super impressive in that fight against Osbourne, as hype as it was. So I'm probably going to side with Borges here, probably by decision. Next, you have a great fight here at flyweight. Edgar Chairez versus CJ Vergara. These are two very gritty fighters. One is a lot longer and better in the clinch, and the other one is a lot smaller and, or maybe I should say more compact, because he's pretty stocky, and that's CJ Vergara. He hits pretty hard, has pretty decent boxing. This is a really fun fight, and I think I'm going to take the Chairez side here, and I think it's probably best to put him by decision. CJ Vergara is very tough. He's very hard to put away. Chairez is a heavy hitter, and he's a good fighter, but Vergara is notoriously hard to put away, and I think this fight is going to go until later goings. I think it's going to be an awesome fight, and I'm really excited for that one. You got Jose Daniel Medina versus Ariba. I don't even, all right, cool. It's a middleweight fight. And then you have Christian Rodriguez versus Melquizael Costa. I love this fight. This should be the co-main event, or at least up there on the main card. Who the fuck is David Martinez? We're talking about C-Rod here, baby. The Christian Rodriguez, and he's fighting Melquizael Costa, who's also a very talented featherweight. This is a good fight, man. I'm excited for this fight, and I do think that, again, I think Christian Rodriguez can pull it out. He has really good cardio. Melky has gotten tired before. He is a finisher, though, so he might be able to find something early in the goings, as C-Rod is a bit of a late starter, I would say. But I'm excited for this fight. I love seeing Christian Rodriguez fight. I love seeing him work. I think he's a very talented fighter. And, yeah, I think he can get it done this weekend. I think over 1.5 is a good bet here. And, yeah, that's probably what I'll take. I'll probably put that in the betting slip, honestly. Lupe Godinez is fighting Julia Palastri. She should be able to wrestle her. Let's hope she does. Rafa Garcia is fighting Vince Pichel. This is a fade spot for sure. Pichel, great fighter, but over it. He retired after his last fight, took some time off, and now he's fighting again. So I don't know if he's trying to run out his contract so he can do bare knuckle or some shit like that, but I don't like it. I don't like it when a fighter's one foot in, 1 foot out. And Rafa Garcia is a tough fighter and not the kind of guy you want to do that against. So I'm going to take Rafa here, probably by finish, honestly, but we'll see what happens. Then you have Jamal Emmers versus Gabriel Miranda. That should be a fun fight. You have Markel Medeiros versus Austin Hubbard. I love that matchup. That's an awesome matchup. I'll probably take Medeiros in that. But Hubbard's a tough guy. I just feel like the cardio, again, might be a big factor. So not to be a broken record. But, yeah, let's go down the betting slip here. Pretty solid card. Not a ton of betting value, in my opinion. So I'm going to keep things pretty short and sweet, I am going to put the main event to go to the distance. I think both these guys are very tough and hard to put away, so I'm going to take that fight to go full 5 rounds. I'm going to take Kelvin Gastelum in the underdog spot against Joe Pyfer. I'm going to take Edgar Chairez to win over 1.5. I'm going to take Christian Rodriguez to win over 1.5, and I'll put in Rafa Garcia as well. So, altogether, we have main event to go the distance. We have Kelvin Gastelum moneyline. We have Edgar Chairez over 1.5. Christian Rodriguez over 1.5. Rafa Garcia moneyline. And that's it. 5-pick fight card for you there. Not too shabby. Mexico City. We're going to see what happens. I think it's going to be a pretty fun fight card. But, let's just hope that the cardio doesn't go everybody. And, yeah, thank you very much for watching. And, you can check out Circle Pieces. I know I talk about them all the time, but I really love them, and I hope you guys love them too. And I'm going to keep making more shit for y'all. I love you guys, and, yeah, appreciate y'all. Peace out. Keep it real.